Hey guys, welcome back. Today I just wanted to talk to you about some palettes that frankly surprised me. All in a positive way, but a surprise nonetheless. I've got 6 to talk about, so let's do this. The one I want to start off talking about is the Chocolate Gold palette from Too Faced. I do have a dedicated review on it. There it is up there. And I say in that review, and I still stand by it, that I bought this thinking that I was probably going to end up returning it. And I don't do that often, but for the sake of having this channel, sometimes I buy stuff that I'm not necessarily personally interested in, but that I think people are going to want to see reviews on, and I'm curious enough to want to try it out. I don't buy every new release that comes out, and I don't buy stuff that I really have zero interest in whatsoever. As long as there is at least a baseline curiosity, that's enough to justify the purchase to me, sometimes. Anyways, having said that, when I saw pictures of this on Instagram and then later on Sephora when it launched, I kind of thought it looked a little ho-hum. I didn't really see how much versatility there might be in here. You only get 4 mattes, the rest are all metallics, and the majority of those metallics are in the gold/bronze family. Fast forward to it arriving on my doorstep and me actually playing around with it, swatching it, creating eye looks, and I fell in love with it pretty much instantly. The mattes that they have chosen, like I said, there's only 4, but they made a really good selection of the 4. So you have a black that can be used to deepen up any other eye look that you're creating with this. You have a nice sort of cream kind of tone here that can be used just to set your primer, or can be used to blend out the edges of all the other shadows. And then the 2 browns are both in this warm sort of category, which works really well with the rest of the colors that are in here. There is a true silver in here, which doesn't really look like it jives, but it's so effing pretty that it doesn't matter, because it is like full-on Tin Man pure silver. Like, look at that. The other thing that I would point out about this palette is that these metallic shadows last on the eyes all day. There is no fading, there's no creasing, they don't transfer all over the place, they don't fall down onto your cheeks throughout the course of the day. They are true to tone from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. I find that using a primer really does help with that, but even when you don't, they still have very good longevity. And I was kind of blown away by this one. And when I did a video, this is going back months now, but when I did a video on if I could only keep 1 item from every category, so 1 eyeliner, 1 blush, 1 eyeshadow palette, this was the winner. And that really surprised me that this was the one that I said I would keep above all else. It's not necessarily the most colorful or, you know, the widest range of shades, but it is very versatile for everyday use, and there is enough little pops of color in here to help keep things interesting as well. So this one surprised the heck out of me in a very good way. We may as well stick on the Too Faced thing. If you will recall, if you've been following for a while, you will know that this thing made me incredibly angry when it was released. The whole Life's a Festival collection, like, it made my eye twitch. Like, it just did not sit well with me. Everything was way too cutesy. It was just too expensive for what it was. And I was adamant, nope, not buying it. I don't care, not touching it. Well, then I went to Sephora. I was returning some items, and there really wasn't anything else there that I wanted to pick up. And at that time, I think they've changed their policy, but at that time, because I had ordered everything online and only had my receipt on my app, they wouldn't let me, you know, get store credit. They would only do an exchange. So it's kind of do or die. I don't really get to the mall very often. So I was looking around and I saw this sitting on an end display of an aisle. And I swatched it. And I loved it. And I shame spiraled just a little bit, but ultimately, clearly, I picked it up. I haven't done a review on this one. It just got lost in the shuffle, and I didn't want to eat that much crow, to be honest, but let's just say this thing is surprisingly pretty. So here's a selection of the shadows here. Too Faced knows what they're doing with foiled shadows. Like, I have to give my hat to them. And the mattes have nice pigmentation. They do blend nicely. And these duochrome shadows also offer something really unique. You can add them as toppers or just wear them on their own. And they do help to add even more creativity to the palette. I think it's a good selection of shades in here. There's only a few mattes, 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes, but that's okay with me. Honestly, that's okay. I have so many palettes that if I'm missing a dark brown matte, I can find that quite easily. I like the summer vibe of it. I like the color selection they've put in there. I hate that I like it. I still don't like the packaging, to be honest. I think like this just, I don't know. The packaging is not the strong suit for me. It's a little too cutesy for my liking, but it's what's inside that counts, and I really like this one. I had to wrestle it off Aspen because she fell in love with it as well. And I was not going to give a $50 palette to my 6-year-old, so that lives in my drawer now. So the next palette that I want to talk about is from Pure Cosmetics. This is the Visionary palette. I haven't really tried anything from Pure before, I don't think. No, I really don't think I have. I was walking through my local Shoppers Drug Mart a few months ago and saw this palette sitting out on display. At that time, I was cashing in a bunch of my Shoppers Drug Mart points. If you're not familiar with Shoppers Drug Mart, basically you collect, I think it's like 10 points for every dollar that you spend. I think that's right. 100 points? 10 points? 10 points? Doesn't matter. And after a certain number, like after you have 10,000 points, then you can cash it in for $10. And 20,000 is $20 and so on and so forth. And they have a lot of like 20 times the points days where we go and we stock up on diapers and wipes and all that kind of stuff. And it adds up really quickly. And I'd say over the course of the years, I've probably cashed in at least $1,000 worth of stuff. So Sephora, please, for the love of God, improve your freaking membership thing, because getting like a little tiny sample for 100 points, which equates to $100, is bullshit. Anyways, not the point of the story. The point of the story was I hadn't tried Pure before. I saw it sitting on display, did some swatches, thought, this looks kind of pretty. Let's take it home. So that's what I did. And I don't know what I was expecting because I've never used Pure before. I don't know. There's some brands that I just get snobby about. I don't know what it is. Like CoverGirl is one of them that I'm always kind of like, ugh, it's CoverGirl. And I don't know why. There's no reason for that. And it was kind of the same with Pure. I was like, well, I don't know. I think it's like, yes, it's in the fancy side of Shoppers Drug Mart, but is it really fancy? It's fancy enough. Let me tell you, this palette is gorgeous. So, again, I'll swatch. So there's just 4 of the shades there, but again, these foiled metallic shadows are beautiful, and again, they last all day. The mattes are creamy and buttery. They blend beautifully, and I love the selection that they've put in here. It is a warm, sort of neutral-ish palette, but they've gone with purples instead of just brown. They've got the nice golds, there's some pinks in there. It's something different for being a warm neutral palette. I like that. I like that it's different. I rail about warm neutral palettes probably more than I should, but I think what bothers me is just more so that it's the same thing over and over again. I'm not necessarily opposed to warm neutral palettes. That's really what I go for an everyday look when I'm getting ready for work. I'm not going to work like this, but bring something different to the table and I am all on board, and make it amazing quality for like $40. Sold over and over again. I think that's beautiful. I love that palette. Next up is the Erdem palette from NARS. This one is Fleur Fatale. This was given to me for my birthday, and when I saw them online, I mean, first of all, okay, let's talk about the packaging, because the packaging is gorgeous. Like, it's got that nice soft touch to it that most of NARS packaging does, but the flower design, I'm gonna straight up, I don't know who the hell Erdem is, I have no idea, but if he or she is the artist that did this, hella talented. It's beautiful. Now, when I saw the shade selections online, I was kind of like, oh, it didn't really do anything for me. And I really had no interest in picking it up. Fast forward to my birthday, and Jessica from The Blonde Man gave me a very generous bag of goodies, and this was contained in there. I said it was very generous. It was like above board generous. She's a beautiful soul. Anyways, this was in here. I am so grateful that this was in there because it's stinking beautiful. It is, oh, I never washed my hand off the last time, son of a bitch. Okay, anyways, like, if we're talking about buttery shadows, this like is the leader of the pack. They are gorgeous. That's obviously 4 of the 6. I may as well just swatch the other 2 just so you get the full sense. Like even the lightest one, like that cream shade, even that still packs a punch. It is very autumnal in my view. Like this is something that I can see myself reaching for once sweater weather hits. And there's only one matte in the palette, and that is sort of one of the things that kind of held me back on this one. That's the only matte there. But the matte works beautifully with the shades that are in here. And like I said, I have other palettes. If I want to add different mattes to this palette for a different eye look, I absolutely can do that. But on its own, these are beautiful, especially this red. It just, it's different. It's so deep, so gorgeous. And I'm so glad that Jessica gave that to me because I totally would have missed out on this. And it is lovely. It's so good. Next on the list is the Born to Run palette from Urban Decay. When I saw pictures of it initially, I was on the fence. I wasn't flat out, no, not gonna get it, but nor was I like, I am gonna stock this until it releases. I really wanted to see for myself in store how it swatched, because to me, Urban Decay can be a little hit or miss. Sometimes I love their palettes, other times I find them to be underwhelming, to say the least. So I waited until it was available in stores, and when I was there, did a few swatches and quickly added it to my cart because this is the level of quality that I expect from Urban Decay that they don't always produce, but this one is beautiful. I've done some swatches here of just an assortment of the shades in there, but you can see, I mean, the mattes are beautiful. Those metallics, they're highly reflective, or there's more satin kind of finishes on some of them. And there's a nice assortment of shades in here. Sometimes, like I've had Vice, I think Vice 3 and Vice 4, and while some of the tones in there kind of worked with each other, for the most part when I looked at those palettes, I wasn't flooded with like look ideas. Sometimes I can look at a palette and be like, oh, I could pair you guys, you guys would work well together. And just a lot of creativity sort of opens up when you look at certain palettes. The Vice palettes never really did that to me. However, with this one, there's a lot of different directions you can go with this. And I really like that there's a mix of cool, there's a mix of warm. It is by and large warm, but you do still have some of these cooler options down around here. And I use this word a lot, but I like the earthiness of the colors that are in here. There's orange, there's green, there's blue, but it's not bright, it's not in your face, which I like, clearly, but when it comes to a larger palette like this, I like that they're easier to work with, and I like that you can pair like the orange with the purple, you could pair the orange with the green, or with the blue, or just orange with the browns. Like, it all works well together. The purples and the greens would work well together. Like, there's just, you're not kind of pigeonholed into, okay, well, this row will work together, this row will work together, this one. That's how I felt with the Vice palettes, is that they just kind of like, there was a column of shades, those would work well together, but they're really, you couldn't really jump around too much and get really cohesive looks, whereas with this one I think you can, and I'm continually surprised by just how much I like it. I also really like the packaging of it. It's just nice, it clips together. there it is. I mean, the pictures are a little busy, but I don't care about that at all. I just like that they've stayed away from stupid packaging because they seem to be falling into that trick or into that trap a little bit lately, and I don't get creative with the packaging, get creative with what's inside. This I like. Last on my list is a new discovery for me, and it is from Ace Beauty. This one is the Paradise Fallen palette. They released 4 of them. I should have bought all 4, but I was trying to be fiscally responsible, but I need the other 3 because they're beautiful. This is clearly their purple palette, but it is so pretty. You've got, it's not just purple, like you have a deep burgundy, there's grays, there's 2 grays to choose from, there's a silver, there's a navy, this one's a navy blue, you've got your purples down here, and then you've got a black over here as well. And these are just, oh, they're so pretty. Let me show you the purples. There's the navy, and then getting into the purples over here. There they are there. Like, that navy is nothing to joke around with. And these do blend so nicely on the lids. I had never heard of Ace Beauty before, but saw it posted by somebody on Instagram. I can't even remember, but whoever you are, thank you, because I like this so much. I sound like such a nerd, but you know, like when you just like something, you like it, right? There's some more of the non-purple shadows. Like, that is bananas. It is beautiful. And again, the nice deep burgundy red. I really look forward to playing around with this. This is one that I look at and see a multitude of different looks in here. On that note, those are 6 of the palettes in my collection that really surprised me in a good way. And I like when that happens. I don't like when I'm disappointed by a palette. But I wanted to share those with you in case you were on the fence about them or in case you were curious about them. What are some palettes that shocked you? What are ones that performed better than you thought they were, or that you find yourself reaching for more than you really expected that you would? I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know down below. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.